Where am I?
You're everywhere.
I suppose I am, really.
I can understand that.
But who are you?
Everybody knows who you are.
Yes, but who are you?
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Slim Gaylord. Welcome to my world.
Carole Hersee, the BBC test card girl. Carole Hersee was born on the 25th of November 1958 in Redhill, Surrey. Carole is famous for being the little girl pictured on a BBC broadcast test card, which was shown throughout night-time and off-peak time television transmissions from the late 1960s through to the 1990s. Her image has had the longest exposure on television worldwide, estimated at over 70,000 hours. Carole is the daughter of George Hersee, a BBC broadcast engineer. George Hersee had joined the BBC in 1949 and moved from equipment installations into designing test cards, which allowed engineers to align television cameras, transmitters and television receivers to achieve the best quality TV pictures. In 1967, he designed Test Card F, which was the first colour test card to be broadcast at the advent of colour television broadcasting in Great Britain. Test cards were broadcast overnight after normal programmes ended and in the afternoons, as there was no daytime TV in the 1960s and 1970s. This was because the BBC had neither enough programmes, that's live, nor recorded material, nor the finances to make enough recorded material to fill that time. A static picture and single tone or music provided an opportunity to test transmitters and receivers for quality and alignment. In creating Test Card F, George realised he would need a reliable way of depicting skin tone and took some pictures at his home in the garden of his two young daughters, Carole and Gillian, as he developed his design. He didn't expect the pictures nor his daughters to make it into the actual test card. The use of a child for the test card was because children do not normally wear makeup, so the skin colour would be natural. Changing clothes fashions and hairstyles of adult women would also quickly date the picture. When he presented his ideas to the committee, they agreed on the use of a child and insisted on using his daughter, Carole, for the production card.
Well, my father was helping to design the colour test card, and he took some photographs at home of my sister and I to give them some ideas of what they could, how they could use it. And the committee decided in the end that they would use a child in order to get facial colours for the television, and they decided to use me.
Carole, who was 8 years old at the time, was chosen because her younger sister Gillian had two of her front teeth missing, and so began Carole's television career. Carole was commissioned for a professional photo shoot session which depicted a carefully designed scene of her playing noughts and crosses on a chalkboard with her toy, Bubbles the Clown, a colour fabric toy she made herself from a kit. The photo shoot required the taking of several pictures, and Carole was quite impatient and kept on fidgeting and eating biscuits in between shots.
I think I got irritable apparently, because I always remember every time they wanted to take another photograph I was always eating a biscuit or something.
The photo shoot took a long time while the design of the noughts and crosses chalkboard and the position of Bubbles was finalised. Bubbles also had his body outfit hastily changed from blue and white stripes to a pale green covering for the shoot. The noughts and crosses grid and the O and X were not made with chalk but was actually white paint, and the X on the board was dead centre of the overall picture to help with picture alignment. Carole is left-handed, and the committee decided that this presented a bad image and insisted on the image being mirrored to show Carole as right-handed. Carole was conscious of the attention from other children at her school. She was teased and didn't like it. She was even disciplined by her school headmaster over it, who did not believe she was the girl on the television. She found herself often trying to prove she was the test card girl by taking things into school, like Bubbles the clown. This had a profound effect on Carole to withdraw from public attention and choose anonymity, cutting her hair short and avoiding press interviews. Carole received a lot of fan mail, which was carefully screened by the BBC. A few were passed on to Carole, and one of these invited her to open a dog show, which she went on to do. Carole was paid just £100 for the picture of her which was used in test card F. The card would go on to be shown for over 70,000 hours on terrestrial television channels around the world and was shown for over 34 years. This estimate makes Carole's image the longest broadcast image of all time. With Carole's parents working at the BBC, as she got older, Carole often visited Broadcasting House's wardrobe department, and they recommended her for a placement at costumiers Berman's and Nathan's. At 16, Carole decided this was what she wanted to do as a career, and she never returned to school. Carole, who lives in Hampshire, makes period costumes for London's West End stage productions, including Phantom of the Opera and Les Miserables, and films including The Last Emperor, Flash Gordon and Dangerous Liaisons.
Well, now I make a period costume for the stage, for Phantom of the Opera, some stuff for Les Mis from America.
In 1989, 30-year-old Carole made a brief return to television, making guest appearances on an arena series called Slim Gaillard's Civilization, reprising her test card girl role, this time coming to life and speaking to camera and having a dialogue with the presenter.
Next week, Slim will be taking us to meet the peanut that went to the moon. He'll be telling us about his contribution to a monument built to last 5,000 years and telling us about his experiences in the war when he flew B-25 bombers in the South Seas. And with the help of Van Morrison, he'll be recalling a famous encounter with the late great novelist Jack Kerouac. All this and more on Slim Gaillard's Civilization, BBC Two, next Sunday evening. Last week, Slim cooked a meal for his friend, the great Dizzy Gillespie. Over the food, they reminisced about the great days of Birdland and 52nd Street, and the great names of jazz and Latin music. Slim had his biggest records at this time, like cement mixer Putty Putty, and invented his own language, the Valtaroony language. But property prices pushed up the rent on 52nd Street, and one by one all the clubs closed. Today, the Onyx Club and the Three Juices and the other great night spots have been replaced by banks.
Carole married and divorced. From that marriage, she had 2 children, a son and a daughter. In 1997, Carole and her children met the Queen to celebrate the BBC's 75th anniversary. Carole has kept Bubbles, the clown, storing him safely in a box. Over the years, Carole and Test Card F, and many of its variants, have made several comeback appearances, which included the advent of high-definition television in the late 2000s. Carole made a rare TV appearance on daytime TV in 2004 to recall her story.
37 years after it first appeared, it's still in use today. And this little girl has become a TV icon. Her name is Carole Hersee. She lives in Hampshire. And this is Carole Hersee today. Carole, nice to meet you. Come along here, come along the couch. Did that feel a bit weird?
Yes, after all these years.
How old were you when you did the test card?
8.
Oh, right. So, you know, you were quite young then, weren't
Yes.
you? And what, do you remember it at all? Do you remember doing it?
I remember sitting for the photographs.
And we were eating biscuits in between the pictures every time the cameraman wanted to take a picture.
Because it came about because your father designed test cards, didn't
Well,
he?
he was helping to design the test cards, and when colour came in, the engineers realised that they needed facial colour because there weren't enough programmes going out because there were no daytime programmes.
Exactly, not like today.
No.
So we had it up, didn't we,
Yes.
for a period of time?
Yes.
That and the Potter's Wheel and various other
That's
things.
right, yes.
But there was a reason for it. Reason for the test
Yes.
card, there wasn't there?
Yes, and the colours, the red and the blue and the green, were there to get the right colours in the middle of the picture, and the noughts and crosses, and the cross marks the centre of the screen.
Because I thought the noughts and crosses was just a game that you had.
Technical reason for it being noughts and crosses,
Yes,
because
so the
the
cross
X
is
marks
there.
the spot.
X marks the spot. And is that your, I mean, is it your clown?
Yes,
Is it your toy?
I made it.
Oh, you made it?
Yes, it was a kit,
Oh,
and I made it.
Lovely.
And they just said, bring something along.
And you just put it into the actual test card picture. How did it affect your life as an 8-year-old?
Oh, well, other people at school didn't really believe me, so you had to take things in, you know, or if there was been a newspaper article or something, I had to take the dress that I'd been wearing in because they didn't believe you.
Oh, really?
You know, my mother, when we went on holiday, my mother used to say, oh, look at the televisions.
In 2009, her story resurfaced in the Daily Telegraph and on the BBC in 2010 and 2011, and again in 2016 in the Daily Express and the Sun newspapers. In 2007, Sky HD introduced their own parody of Test Card F with Mylene Klass as the Test Card Girl. In culture, Carole's story has been reflected in many television quiz shows, including Have I Got News for You and The Chase.
Carole Hersee is better known as what? A. Test Card Girl. B. Speaking Clock Voice. C. The Stig. You've put Test Card Girl.
Fish that out of the back of my head. I think that's her name, Carole Hersee. I'm sure it's Carole.
Correct answer is... Goes right, Test Card Girl. What is the name of the girl on BBC Test Card F that was first broadcast in 1967 and portrayed her playing noughts and crosses with a clown doll?
I think she's got a name like Carole. Claire Hodge. I'm not right. I just can't remember her surname.
Claire Hodge. It's not correct, Pat, but it's clearly in there somewhere, given that you said Carole, which is her first name, and the H is significant as well. Do you know, Eggheads?
Carole Hersee.
Carole Hersee. Hersee. Her father, George, was a BBC engineer. Her sister, Gillian, was supposed to be included, but was replaced by the clown. Lucky Gillian.
Brian Greene clearly recalls the events of Wednesday afternoon, December the 9th, 1981, when BBC Two transmitted one version of What for about 40 minutes before switching back to the correct version of What.
It's got to be a new version of the test card before switching back to the traditional comforting old one.
What it is BBC Two transmitted one version of Test Card F before switching back to the correct version of Test Card F. So let's have a look at them. Here's the version of Test Card F they put up in error.
Oh, ridiculous.
Yeah, and here's, of course, the correct version of Test Card F. One for the blooper reel there.
Engineer George Hersee and his daughter Carole were instrumental in the creation of what? A. TV remote control. B. The TV test card. C. TV subtitling. You've put Yeah, the giveaway's in the question, isn't it? That's got to be his kid.
Well, I was under the impression I've heard that name and I kind of linked it to him, and I think it was his daughter who's in the picture.
In the picture with the clown and...
Yeah, with all the funny toys.
TV test card. You've put the correct answer is to guess One From Home. Oh, look, we're still in it. Brilliant. One From Home. The chaser has put. He's going to stick with us.
Yeah.
He does, indeed.
I was hoping you'd get that question wrong, but the name was in the question. Carole Hersee was once the most watched person on TV.
Test card F has more recently been used hundreds of times as a still shot in YouTube videos, racking up millions of views and making Carole's image more visible than ever. Along with many parodies, including featuring as a central character in the BBC television drama series Life on Mars in 2006, Carole Hersee and her role as the test card girl will remain as one of the most iconic and enduring memories of the television era.
Where's the little girl in the test card? The one with the little clown. She's seen all over the country, every city, every village, every town. When you turn on your TV, take a look and you will see the little girl in the test card. She's right here with me. She's playing noughts and crosses. She look at you with a smile. It make your morning happy. Doubts in every child. When you're getting ready for work or school or play, what a cute little girl in the test card is what everybody say. Now if you ever wondered who the cute little girl might be, you don't have to wonder any longer, 'cause she's right here with me. Hey, wonder where the little girl in the test card. The little bitty girl in the test card, right here with me. I wonder where the little girl playing ball. She's playing noughts and crosses.